Today I want to share a video that's really important to me, and it was really hard at the time to share it. Now I'm so happy that I did because it's helped literally thousands and thousands of people. At the moment, in that time in my life, it was really hard for me to open up and talk about my emotions. Now, you guys know I talk very openly about it, and I feel like it's the best thing I've ever done, which is talking about my acne. But this particular time is me talking about the first time that acne made me cry, and specifically probably the hardest point that acne pushed me to. So I hope you guys, understand this, respect my vulnerability here, and respect the fact that it was a long time ago, so I wasn't quite as polished maybe. I did put some music to it that's a little bit cheesy, but I think it still has a really good message, so I hope you guys enjoy this. Thanks. This is going to be a different one than you're used to. It's going to be not so happy, not so jovial, definitely something different. It's actually going to be kind of a downer, maybe a little bit for some people to hear, but this is something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and I just wasn't sure when I was going to do it. But today, I just got back from leg day. You're probably wondering why I have the beanie on, and I got this huge, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, oh, you can see it. Yeah, definitely. So I got this huge cyst. And I just knew that if I went into the gym without a beanie on, without covering it, that I was not going to be able to get as good of a workout in because I knew people would be staring at me. Now, you guys know me, I don't really have any problem with, going into a store right now and having this on my head and talking to people, meeting people. That's not a big problem. But when when you go try to work out, people just don't have a filter. So they'll be staring at you, they'll be whispering about you. They don't have a filter, they don't understand what they're doing, because when I see someone whispering about me and I know I have a giant, big old bad cyst on my head, I know that they're talking about me. They're not whispering about something else. And whether or not that bothers me or I'm okay with it or whatever, where I've progressed in my personality as far as how I deal with that kind of a situation, it's distracting. You know what I mean? And so I put the beanie on. That reminds me though of this story that I've wanted to tell you guys. I just didn't know where I was going to tell you guys this story, because this is kind of out of my MO. I'm kind of like, I guess you guys can kind of look to me as, like the guy with the happy face, the guy who always tells you to have a happy face, deal with, adversity and these problems with a smile, try to always look for the silver lining. And that is how I deal with my acne now. But everyone, you can't just flip a switch. No one can do that. No one can go from 0 to 100 as far as confidence goes, or just not caring what people think and say about you. And so at one point in my life, I mostly was dealing with my acne pretty positively. I was, happy with where I was. Even though I had like zits and stuff, I had a lot of friends, I had, this, that, and the other going on. And mostly I would do what I've told you guys to do all the time, where it's just live your life and don't worry about it. But this one specific time, it finally got to me. And this is definitely something that I don't tell. Actually, I don't think I've ever told anyone this. I don't really talk about these kind of stories because, I don't know, I guess I just haven't gotten comfortable with it. And it's kind of hard to be transparent about this kind of a thing. Because this was the first time that I ever... Because this was the first time that I had ever cried because of my acne. Up to that point in my life, I'd always kind of lived this macho idea, this idea that you got to be a macho man, right? So I would always try to hide my emotions, try not to cry. It wasn't manly to cry, so I hadn't cried in 4 or 5 years. And let me tell you guys, crying is so healthy for you. It progresses your personality, your spirit, your understanding of other people's feelings and things like that. It's just not healthy to hold those things back. It's good to cry, and whether that be a sad cry or a happy cry, cries are important. But at this point in my life, I wasn't okay with crying. It wasn't okay with me, and it had been 4 or 5 years since I had cried, and I always try to go real tough about things, real tough about any sort of situation. Someone dumps me, someone makes fun of me, someone, I do something embarrassing. I always try to just be like, that's okay, whatever, it's all good, I'm cool, I'm Brian, I'm moving on, that's no problem. But the specific time I got one of these cysts. Now, this one is pretty big, it's pretty bad, and as you can see, it comes off of my face quite a bit. It's big, very noticeable. And I used to get these cysts, but bigger. Like, I'm telling you, 2 times as big as this. And I would get these like every maybe like 5 or 6 weeks, and they would just come out of nowhere, just like this one did. And this specific time, I was, I think, a sophomore or junior, so I was like 16 or 17, and it came up on my nose. It was a big one. It was a really, really, really big one. And as soon as I got to school, I'm just gonna tell you the accumulation of things that happened to me at school that caused me to feel the way that I felt that day. I came to school and I went up to my group of friends at the time, and immediately the first thing that they say is, "Oh, look at Rudolph." First thing I just like, really? That like, great, awesome, cool. Like, we're just gonna, but of course I giggled it off. I was like, haha, I know, it's crazy, huh? It's crazy. And then I go through my first classes. I have like 3 periods or something like that. Then I have this English class, and in this English class, it was my turn to give a speech that day. So I don't know if you guys have ever been to high school. I'm sure a lot of you guys have. You don't really get to choose whether or not you're going to give that speech. You don't get to tell your teacher, oh, I'm going to do it in a couple more days when my face looks a little better. You have to do it. Otherwise, you're going to fail. So I went to that class, and of course it was on my mind. It was just weighing on my mind. I was like, damn, like I have to go on in front of like 40 kids and I have this big one. And by the way, to make it even worse, it had a white head, which I don't know if you guys know, that's the worst one because everyone's looking at it, right? So I went into my class and I went up there in front of everybody. It was my turn. It was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 people in. I went up on stage in front of everybody, and I remember it was so, I remember hearing whispers when I went up there, and I'm looking around and I can see people leaning over. And high schoolers are ruthless, man. Like, you're within earshot. It's quiet. I can hear everything everyone's saying. And I swear, at least 2 or 3 different groups said something. I could hear them talking about my giant zit. Oh, watch out, dude. It's going to explode. It might get on you, or, whatever else. And it was pretty, I don't know, it was pretty harsh, because then I also have to give my speech and try not to think about everyone talking about my face, looking at my face and whatnot. Then I go from that class, finally get through that class. I'm not feeling that great in the first place now because my whole day has just been, talk bad about Brian's acne. And then finally, the last thing that just killed me, it killed me, man. I went up to one of my good friends at lunch. So like that class was right before lunch, and then I would go to lunch. And I went up to one of my really good friends, one of my best friends at the time. Like, I would consider him, my top 3 best friends, if you're putting it by MySpace standards. And the first thing that he does when I walk up to him is he just runs up and pokes my nose right on top of the cyst, like flicks it. I don't know why. I mean, God, I don't know why. And he just thought it was funny, and it's just like, oh, dude, that's so big. Look at it. Oh, whoa. And like, it just comes down to high school again, right? People, like high school, you haven't experienced enough life to have empathy enough to understand that what you're doing to people when you do that kind of stuff. It's not good to do that kind of stuff to people, no matter what their problem is. If someone has acne, or someone's fighting obesity, or someone has a deformity or something, anything at all, it's so bad to make fun of them, especially at such a young impressionable age. Luckily, I mean, I could get over this kind of stuff, but at that point, man, that point in the day, after one of my best friends pointed it out, I was just so tired of, constantly thinking about my acne that day. It just sucked. And like I said, I'm not a guy who cries a lot. Well, I guess I'm crying right now, but I wasn't a guy who cried a lot at that point. And I walked to my car. I got in my car finally on the other side of the student parking lot, so no one's around me or anything. And I got in my car, I sat down, and I just started crying, man. I just started bawling. And after that first tear came, man, I was just like, it was so relieving. As silly as it sounds, it was so relieving to finally just like be And one of the things about me is it's pretty difficult to get me to start crying. But once I start crying, it's just waterfalls. I can't control it. And I just remember sitting there crying and just saying things, just being like, why do you have to do that kind of, oh, well, of course, there was a lot more cuss words in it at this time. But I remember I just sat there and I just went through each situation and I was just like, what the hell was the point of touching my face, touching my cyst? What was the point? Like, what satisfaction did you get out of that? What purpose did that serve? And it was like this great release of all these emotions. I was so just emotionally burdened, and it was such a sad cry, but at the same time it was like this release of energy, a release of all this pent up BS that I had to deal with for such a long period of time up to that point. All the name calling, all the jokes, all the stuff that I took the higher road with. I always just dealt with it with a smile. It was good to finally just sit there and just think, and then just take care of it, man. Just seriously release myself from my ego, release myself from my macho personality and what people thought about me, and just cry. It felt really good. And now here I am sitting crying in front of a bunch of people who aren't used to seeing me vulnerable and crying. And I'm pretty interested to see what you guys think about it. But it's the reason I'm crying is it's not only just because I'm kind of reliving the situation and just remembering how good it felt. I'm kind of an empathetic crier. If I see someone crying or if I think about crying, I kind of cry. It's one of my weaknesses at this point. But just thinking about all the people who have to deal with this, all the people who are in high school right now and who have to deal with these people who just nag at them all the time, because the kids that are nagging at them don't have these problems. They don't have these grandiose problems that they've had to deal with. They're just living their life, and they're just concentrated on whatever they see, and that's pretty much it. It's just the people in their high school. And I know there are so many people out there who know exactly what I'm talking about, I know there's a lot of people out there who have been just name called and just people have pointed at them or talked about their acne, or maybe you've heard people whispering, or people have left comments on your pictures or whatever it is. And I wanted to make this video especially for you, to show you that I understand where you're coming from. I know exactly where you're coming from. And there's all these people that try, they try to understand, or they try to downplay, or they try to make it sound like they know how it feels to have a severe acne problem, a serious acne problem, or just an acne problem that affects you emotionally. And I know that this video can serve the purpose of showing you that while it's hard, while it seriously is hard, you can change your perspective in time. As you go forward, you can become comfortable with situations like this that's on my forehead that honestly at that time in my life I was not comfortable with. I was not comfortable with it, but I would try to be comfortable with it. But over the years, of having acne, I've become comfortable with this. And I want you guys to know that while your acne maybe won't leave you anytime soon, you might be stuck with it for many years like I have. I've had it since 15, I'm 22 now. You can become comfortable with it. It's completely in your power to be comfortable with it, and I want you to do that. But I also understand that it's very difficult, and sometimes you need to release. Sometimes you need that cry, because sometimes that cry can change the way you feel. It can release you of all this pent up stress that you didn't even know you had. So don't be ashamed to cry. Whether you're a guy or girl, I know a lot of guys watch my channel and they're so macho and stuff and afraid to cry. Don't be afraid, man. Maybe don't tell everyone. Go do it. See how it feels. And then maybe you'll change your perspective on crying too, because you'll understand more about what it does for you as a human being. I'm kind of rambling now, guys, but I was considering on the drive home whether or not I actually wanted to make this video, because I knew that I was going to cry in it, and I know I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not sure what people are going to say about this, and I've never done something that's kind of so personal. I'm pretty transparent on my channel, but I've never done something that's so personal. So please, guys, please try to be nice. Try to be nice. Try to accept what this is and understand why I put this up. I hope it helps a lot of people. It's legitimately the reason I wanted to put this up. Please guys, if you have any friends or family that are dealing with severe acne and you think that this video might be able to help them get through whatever it is that they're dealing with right now, please send it over to them, you know, post it on your Facebook, whatever you can, because if this can help people, then I'm so willing to put me crying on the internet up, you know, something that I'm embarrassed, I guess, not really comfortable about. I'm comfortable putting it on the internet if it can help you guys. So please share it with your friends, guys. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Team Beyond the Week. Stay strong, guys.